Hello my strong friends. In today's video we're doing something new. I'm doing a technique review. I started doing this on my stories last week and you guys have been loving it. If you're not following me on Instagram, then do that at Meg Squats. And if you want me to review your technique on the channel or on my stories, then please just hashtag your lifting videos with watchmyliftmeg. watchmyliftmeg. If you guys are new here, hello, my name is Meg Squats and I'm a strength coach and I make videos about training, getting stronger, nutrition, all kinds of stuff. Subscribe if you're not already. Okay, like this video if you guys want to see more technique reviews. Let's go. All right, I'm gonna put up on screen our first submission, and I will say a recurring theme is that a lot of the lifts that we saw can have some easy fixes before you even start the lift. So this one in particular, if you pause to right when she unracks the bar, you can see her feet, she's up on her tippy toes. Boop, like this. So I see that all the time, Okay, so let me show you what she's doing. So when she unracks, she gets under the bar, and in order to get past the lip or the J hooks, she has to come up on her tippy toes because the bar's too high at the unrack. So this one is set up perfectly for me to unrack with a back squat. One easy way to find your height is maybe think about just the middle of your delt. The middle of your delt for your back squat. Now, biggest thing is it's better to be too low than too high because I don't want you to tippy toe. I'd rather have you 1/8 squat slightly than tippy toe out of the rack. The reason being is if you are setting up for a squat that's really heavy, this weight that she's using is pretty light for her. It looks like she looks really strong when she actually starts squatting. But if it's super heavy, let's imagine she's doing a 1-rep max. To start her lift, by doing a calf raise and by not being in a stable position with her feet is not gonna set her up for success. It's not going to give her that feeling of when you unrack, I want you to feel like this is lightweight. This is light. I'm going to lift the shit out of this and I'm going to PR. So I want you to feel super confident when you unrack the bar and your weight is evenly distributed on your foot and then you stand up. So the problem with most of us lifting, and my rack here, you can see the distance between the racks, and actually with this kind of janky setup, I can also put it there. But even then, it's not, I don't have the smallest increments possible, right? It's better to go too low than too high when you're lifting in a commercial gym if you don't have a perfect like powerlifting setup where you have super small, what's the word I'm looking for?
Interval or
intervals,
distance?
Yeah. Okay, that's the first one. All right, on the topic of the unrack, one of the most common things that I saw that is also very easily addressable is that people were doing a good morning in order to get the bar out of the rack on the back squat. So I'm gonna show you what I mean in some B-roll here. See how my feet are far away from the barbell? They're behind the barbell, and then I just basically do a good morning to unrack it. I do not want you to do that. That is, again, setting you up to not feel as confident as you could be, to not having the bar feeling as light as it could feel on your initial point of contact. So don't hip hinge the bar out of the rack. I want you to get under it with a slight knee bend and stand up. That's gonna be the easiest way for you to get the bar out of the rack. I'm telling you, not most, but plenty of people who were sending in their technique submissions were good morning the bar out of the rack. So don't do that.
Just like unnecessarily taxing and not contributing to the actual lift at all.
Exactly, especially if you're powerlifting. The setup is gonna be so important, and all the things that you do before the lift is gonna be really important if you're trying to hit a 1-rep max or if you're trying to increase your 1-rep max. So, and even then, when you're lifting moderately heavy weights that are creating a stimulus in your body, something that's gonna be hard, something that's actually gonna build strength and build muscle, then I need you to feel confident so that you don't make any mistakes while you're actually doing the lift, and so that you don't run into issues that are going to make it harder for you to gain strength and gain muscle. So the next tip that I want to give you guys is another easily addressable one. It might just cost you a little bit of money, and that's selecting the right shoes for the movement that you're doing. So in a lot of the squat videos and the one where the lifter was kind of on the tippy toes, I noticed she was wearing kind of cushy training shoe. They weren't quite like a running shoe or as cushy as this, but they were kind of like Nike Freeze is what they look like. The only shoe that I really don't want you to squat, bench, and deadlift in, or do like most lifting in, is a very cushy running shoe. They're super comfortable. They're made to, though, absorb force, and they don't exactly lie flat on the ground. So this kind of shoe makes it harder to like root into the ground with your foot, makes it harder to have some foot control, and also they're made to absorb force when you're striking on the ground. I want you to push force into the ground so that you can lift weights up, right? So avoid cushy running shoes or your typical casual trainers, and instead opt for something that has a flat, hard sole and not as much cushion to absorb your force. So you can choose something like Chuck Taylor. This is great for powerlifting. They're also pretty affordable, or you can find like the Walmart version of a Chuck Taylor. Or you could spend a little bit more money and get a CrossFit shoe. This is what I like just because I can kind of wear them to the gym, wear them in the gym, and then they look cute too. I can also do other kind of movements and they're comfy, whereas like a Chuck Taylor, not the most comfortable shoe to like be wearing all day, in my opinion. CrossFit shoes will be good, more versatile, but also obviously much more expensive. And then if you really get into lifting, you can invest in a pair of weightlifting shoes. So these are used by powerlifters definitely, but also used by Olympic weightlifters. It will raise your heels, which will increase your ankle dorsiflexion, which might make it easier to get in certain positions. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, I think, later in the video, but you might want to consider a weightlifting shoe. This will be your most expensive option. You could always, if your gym allows it, wear no shoes. That's definitely better than wearing these shoes, but your gym might not be down with that. But if you're lifting at home, try no shoes and see how it feels. Might help you get a feel for balance, get a feel for rooting in the ground, and kind of getting all points of contact through your foot. Okay, since we're on the topic of shoes, I did notice a lifter who was wearing Converse, and I wanted to point out this kind of weird thing. So Converse shoes kind of raise in the toe box, which is weird, and I wish they were just flat. But I want to talk about foot control and kind of forcing that toe box down to the ground. So I'll show you what I mean. I've got Converse on my left foot and barefoot so you can see what I do. But basically I'm looking for good foot control in the squat and in the deadlift. The bench is a little bit different, but basically you want to make sure that you're kind of rooting into the ground with 4 points of contact in the foot. Both sides of the front of the foot before the toes, and then both sides of the back of the foot. So you can see the Converse kind of lifts up in the toe, which is sort of annoying. But if you're really rooting down, you can see my toe kind of goes down with it. So you want to try and do that, kind of force that toe box down. Again, you'll still get a little bit of lift, but this lifter that I saw it didn't look like she had great foot control. So I just want to make sure that you're doing that while you're lifting.
And when you say foot control, you're specifically kind of referring to like distribution of pressure through the whole foot.
Exactly, that's much more eloquent way to describe it. So I have a IGTV on foot control because I feel like foot control could be its own video. So if you want to see that, then let me know, but I'll link my IGTV so you can check that out. Okay, my next tip is for the bench press from a lifter who has a really amazing bench press. I think her name's Cheska. Thanks, Cheska, for your submission. So the thing that I want to give her a tip on is actually how she's wearing her wrist wraps. You can get whatever wrist wrap feels good for you. This one's from Strong Supply, so that's my company. Please check it out if you're interested in getting some wrist wraps. But anyway, you can see she's wearing her green wrist wraps kind of like bracelets. So this is how they look. It's gonna be hard for me to wrap it like that. Okay, so this is kind of how her wrist wrap looks. You see they're kind of covering the bottom of the wrist joint, or I guess, would that be the top or the bottom of the wrist joint? Anyway, they're kind of covering the wrist joint, but she has mobility in her wrist. I can tell. She'll be able to bend her wrist if she needed to. Her bench looks awesome. This is just something that as she gets into heavier weights, it's going to provide a little bit more support and stability for her bench. When you put on your wrist wrap, you want to cover the butt or heel of your hand on your first wrap and then tighten accordingly. So I like to keep most of the wrap covering that like butt of the hand. So you can see when my wrist wrap is fully on and then I take my little thumb loop off, I don't have mobility in my wrist joint. I cannot bend my wrist. That is what we want. We don't want to wear them like bracelets. We want to wear them higher up on the wrist, cover the entire wrist joint, and have like the butt of the hand or the heel of the hand pretty covered. Now, of course, you don't want to get in the way of where your bar is in your hand, but this is what you want. You don't want to be able to bend the wrist, and ultimately your wrist wraps should be uncomfortable. You shouldn't be able to wear them throughout an entire bench session. You should be taking them off after every set. So our next lifter is bench pressing, and this is a super common mistake that beginners make. And what she's doing is basically she's setting up with her head too high on the bench, and instead I want her to move her entire body down towards the foot end of the barbell. So you actually want to line up your eyes, so your eye gaze when you're looking up at the bar should just kind of meet this foot end of the barbell. So your eyes should kind of gaze up to like this end of the bar. Kind of like the bar's just out of focus. So move your body down towards this way. I'm gonna show you examples comparing where her position is and then where the corrected position is. And basically we're doing that for a couple of different reasons. One, so that we don't run into the J hooks when we're actually doing our reps. But also in the bench, you want to have a diagonal bar path. And what she's doing there is making it so that she can't achieve that diagonal bar path. And instead she's kind of pushing out to where she's not fully stacked at the top of her rep. So what we want at the top is our bar, wrist, elbow, and shoulder are aligned. And then at the bottom, our wrists and elbows are aligned under the bar. But when we press up, you're going to have a diagonal bar path. If I were bench pressing a straight line down from here, I'd be pressing like this. You see how my elbows go out? But we're not. We're touching down below the bra line is usually where I tell people to touch down, or at least to start. So I'm going to create a diagonal line so that at the bottom of the bench press, the bar is over my wrist, is over my elbow, right? So kind of looks like this. So we need that space to give ourselves the diagonal bar path, where if I'm all the way up here, she's kind of forcing herself to press out this way. So she's not fully lined up at the top of the rep as I would like her to be. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna call it there to avoid this video from being 20 minutes long, because I could probably talk about these things for forever, but I do wanna get your feedback. Let me know if you enjoyed watching the technique review here on YouTube. If you wanna see more, please do like the video. And of course, please submit your videos for technique review. Maybe you'll see them on the next one or on my Instagram stories. Just post them on Instagram with the hashtag watchmyliftmeg. And I will watch them and I will technique review them. If you enjoyed it, please give the video a like. If you're new here, then subscribe to my channel. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.